It was supposed to be like these rotating half bowls thing that could capture like the sun in Arizona. But wow, I can't even speak. I still can't do it.
Ooh, this is a tough one.
The new Dick Van Dyke Show. That's a tough thing to say, the new Dick Van Dyke Show. Say it fast.
Dick Van Dyke.
No, the new Dick Van
Dyke Show.
The new Dick Van Dyke Show. You probably have it written down or something. Welcome back to Asinine Radio, a weekly podcast where we talk about music, and, well, that's pretty much it. So, let's go!
This is Asinine Radio. This is the weekly music podcast where every week we get into a different band or artist and we break down their record, whatever record we're doing, and we find out all the secrets. We do all the research we could possibly do, and we let you all know. We cliff note it for you all because who has time to read all this stuff outside of us? Nobody. So thank you all for listening to the podcast. My name is Tyler. Way out there, hundreds of miles away, way out there in ether, is Jeff. Well, he's actually in Arizona, but that's fine. I can only say that because we're doing an Arizona band, a Phoenix band, and you live out there. All right. That's the only reason why I did that. So while you're listening, go to Apple Podcasts, go rate, review, and subscribe to us on there. If you haven't already, please go do that. Give us 5 stars. That means the most to us. Interact with us. Reach out to us on social media at Asinine Radio. We have a Discord server if you want to join that. Let us know. We'll send you the link. We also have a phone number you can call or text. We'll probably play it if you have a voicemail, and we might make fun of you. I don't know. Give us some recommendations on what you want to hear. We might listen to you. I don't know. Our phone number is 503-893-5307. So get into that. And that's all I got for the intro. So what are we doing today, Jeff?
We're doing JFA, Valley of the Yakes. JFA, or Jodie Foster's Army, formed in 1981 in Phoenix, Arizona by Brian Brannon on vocals, Don Redondo Pendleton on guitar, Michael Cornelius on bass, and Mike Bam Bam Zversbold on drums. I mispronounced that. They currently have 5 full-length records, 2 EPs, 2 live records, and a lot of comps. The album we're doing today is Valley of the Yakes. It's the band's first record, and it came out in 1983. Woo! Reading's hard. Yep. It features the original lineup of Brian, Don, Michael, and Mike, and it remains one of the more important albums to come out of the skate punk scene. Now, Jeff, what's your origin story with the JFAs? What do you got? So the first time I ever heard of JFA was through Sublime, the song Eben on 40 Ounces, and I knew who JFA was, but I never listened to JFA until we started collecting records. And then really until I moved out here and I realized that JFA is a big deal out here in Arizona and the Phoenix area. And there's not a lot of, there's not as rich of a history in music and culture in Arizona as there was in Southern California, where we grew up in. And so you kind of take that for granted. So when you come out to an area like this, whereas the Phoenix area was more of a stopping point to LA for a lot of musicians, and there are a lot of great bands that have come out of this area, but compared to Southern California, I mean, it doesn't even hold a candle to what has come out of Southern California. But that's not all. That's also not entirely fair either. So that's why I've never really listened to JFA until recently, until the past like year and a half. And it was only because going out to a lot of the bars, and I constantly see like the Yucca Tap Room, they have a lot of these old punk posters up where it is, it is like DRI or like RKL, JFA, Black Flag, all these posters up, but I kept seeing JFA everywhere, and I recognized the name. I was thinking in my mind, I recognized the name from
Great place to think.
the Sublime song. I was like, okay, that might be a cool place to start. So let's start with JFA, and just going onto Spotify, they're just in order. Their top song is a cover, and it just so happened to be a fucking surf cover, and I really like surf music, and so hearing a surf cover by a punk band, I was hooked. I was hooked, and just knowing that they're like a skate punk band, I think is awesome. Knowing how many people like them, but more in a like an underground sense. Like you don't see a lot of JFA T-shirts as much as you do like
or
Jimmy World out
patches
here.
or anything.
Yeah, it's
or like in the punk scene, like you don't see a lot of JFA patches on like the punk kids wearing them.
No, I think that's regional, and I think they just like their first show as JFA was opening for Black Flag. So
fuck, can you imagine?
Like they were already doing shows prior to that under a different name. The Breakers was their name before JFA.
Yeah,
but there's already a band in LA called the Breakers. Go figure. So they changed to JFA because the bass player had written a song called Jodie Foster's Army specifically, and they had cut like pieces of a camouflage T-shirt and like duct taped them to their steel-toed boots, and so they already had a following of people that they had nicknamed the Jodie Foster's Army. And so they said, okay, well, there's already a band in the Breakers. Let's call ourselves JFA. So when JFA first started out, their first show was opening for Black Flag. And like this one, Dez was the lead singer in Black Flag. So
so it was that early on.
It was early on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this band is on its own. I think this band is phenomenal. I think they're really, really, really fucking good. And for a bunch of shithead 16-year-olds, they're way too good at their instruments. And I didn't even realize that until this week. And it fucking irritates me at how good they are at playing their fucking instruments. But that's my origin story with JFA.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. So my origin story was, honestly, it was through you. I don't remember ever seeing JFA anywhere. I mean, I don't know. I thought I knew more about punk, but maybe just because the name never really stood out, I just never noticed. Never noticed them.
We were spoiled in Southern California.
True. It's true, especially Orange County. It's
Yeah.
it had such like a rich scene. So, I mean, and LA obviously too. But I don't know. Yeah, just I never really knew anything about JFA, and then you moving out to Arizona and kind of discovering them kind of randomly through like what you said, like seeing their name on at the bars and all that shit. So then you brought the day Walt Disney died to the pod. That was the first time I had ever heard their music, and I thought it was so rad. It was just like, because at the time, this was like 6 months ago, I was really getting back into hardcore punk, just Black Flag, Gorilla Biscuits, and shit like that, like 80s punk, hardcore. And so yeah, this is just like a good like transition back into that. And then I just kind of forgot about him, and then I ran across a couple of their records. Like I said, I got the bootleg of Valley of the Yakes because their records are expensive, and then I got an actual a real copy of Untitled from Black Hole like a month and a half ago, maybe. And yeah, and ever since then, man, I've just been listening to, especially Untitled, so damn much. I think that record is just, both records are fantastic. But yeah, that's my origin. It's very fucking recent. I'm 34 years old and just now getting into this fucking hardcore band. But I don't know. Better late than never, I guess. Should that be on the no-no list? Better late than never? Because that's kind of annoying. But
no, because that's an actual thing that is relevant.
Yeah. Okay.
Like just because you're late to the party. Like for instance, Brian from JFA, he joined the military at 35 years old.
Yeah, he was a Navy Reserve, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
And he climbed the ranks to something very, very high. But he didn't join until he was like 35. It was after September 11th happened, and that's when he joined. And for a punker to want to like go fight for his country after some huge, like the hugest, is that a word? Hugest?
No, that's not a word.
I'm pretty sure huge is a word.
You could just say the biggest.
I'm going to stick with hugest.
That works too.
One of the hugest things that have ever happened to America, for like a punker to go out and join the reserves is that's intense. But yeah,
it's very surprising, especially somebody at 35,
being
able to get into it. That's
so again
wild.
The better late than never thing that rings true. It is a cliche thing to say, but there's a lot. It rings true. It's fine. We can say that shouldn't go on the no list.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, fine. You talked me out. You talked me out of adding it to the no list.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I'm at with JFA. I'm digging it. I'm really digging it. And then this week, reading more about the scene, the skate scene, which we're going to get really into because they're so ingrained within that scene. So yeah, that should be good stuff. So then, what are your initial thoughts on this record? And then, do you have any stingers? Any stinkers? Any stinkers? And then, what is your biggest banger?
I have no stinkers. My initial thoughts on this record is this is really cool. This is I don't listen to a ton of like the hardcore punk music because I think a lot of it is very, very, it's very similar. It loses itself in its in its repetition. It's the same shit, three chord songs over and over and over. And this album's kind of funny because they make fun of preppies a lot and calling like the preppies clones of themselves. But it's also kind of funny because like punkers are notorious for being clones of other punkers. And
exactly. So
that I thought that was kind of a little bit tongue in cheek because they are a little different because they skated a lot. And the band formed based off of like skate culture, not music culture, who also skated. These guys were skaters first, musicians second. And that's how Brian was brought into the band, was they needed a singer. And one of the guys was like, "Oh, I skate with this dude a lot. He likes music. I think he can sing." And they brought him in and he started screaming and they're like, "Oh, fuck yeah, you're a really good singer. So let's do it." But first impressions on this album was the surf song. I heard Walk Don't Run, which is the Ventures cover. And I said, "Hey, this is really badass." And I listened to the album. It's like 20 minutes long, not a long album.
21 minutes, yeah.
There's another surf cover on this, and that other surf cover is something that that's a song I've never heard until we started collecting, but is now my favorite surf song because it is absolutely perfect. It's unbelievable. Baja by the Astronauts. They also covered that song.
I couldn't figure out who did the original song.
Yeah, it's the Astronauts, and I've heard that song before, but it's not a popular surf song, and so. Especially in Southern California, like we're so dominated by like the Beach Boys. It's just fucking domination. And so these kind of like lesser known surf songs are kind of cast off. Like Beach Boys and Dick Dale are just, they dominate the airwaves in Southern California. So listening to JFA and hearing them do 2 surf covers, and there's another instrumental later on that they do, which is fantastic. But
yeah, this
album is so, I should hate this album because it's very punk and it's very boring because there's a lot of like 3 chord songs. But what makes this so goddamn good is how good they are, how great they all are at their instruments. I can think like the least, if I had to like rank them from like highest to lowest, it's like bass, drums, vocals, guitar. That's like how I rank them as musicians, how much I enjoy listening to what they are doing.
Wait, you said from worst to best?
No, from best to worst.
Oh, okay. So bass was on the top.
Yeah, bass, drums, vocals, guitar. And in surf music, like the Ventures, they had 3 guitarists because there's a lot of things that the guitarists do, but the bass is always there just to basically keep time, just to be a metronome. But here, like even in the songs Walk, Don't Run, and Baja, the bass is taking those easy surf songs and he's just fucking noodling. He's just going crazy. He's punking it up to a thing that I never even imagined. It's literally mind-blowing to me. I could not believe it. And I got really, really heavy into the surf stuff since we started collecting, even more than I ever have. And I've never heard anything like this. I've never heard any kind of bass playing like this on anything that I've ever heard in surf music. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, in surf music, yeah, for sure. So that's what you got. That's your initial reaction to this record.
I didn't know
initial thoughts, I should say.
my initial thoughts. There you go.
Okay, so my initial thoughts real quick, and then we'll get into our bangers. I don't think there are any stinkers, so I'll preface that. Initial thoughts. I think this is just a fantastic punk record. I mean, it hits all the right things, like really crazy, passionate singing, really aggressive parts, really fast, sloppy parts, which are it's so endearing. I love it. And then you throw in the random surf shit, like. It's wild. I think one of the things that I like about the Untitled record more than this is that they incorporate more surf into the actual punk songs, because on this one, these are more covers than anything else, but on Untitled it's more of a fusion between punk and surf. But it's not to knock this record at all, because this record is fucking amazing. But it's a nice combination of both of those genres thrown in there. And then, like you said, the last song is an instrumental. It's a punk instrumental, essentially, with a little bit of surf in there, but it's not a straight up surf song. And this record, it just hits all the right points at the right times. It's perfectly sequenced, and there's a lot of passion in this. And like you said before, a fucking bunch of snotty-nosed teenagers between like 15 and 17 years old. It's just like great fucking punk band. And I never looked at the artwork until I bought the record a little over a month ago. And I was looking at the cover and I'm like, dude, these kids look like they're fucking 12.
I know.
Like, I couldn't believe how fucking young they looked. I was blown away. I'm like, these motherfuckers sound like this? Like I never in a million years would I have thought that they looked like that. It was so, I was so surprised. But,
dude, like honestly, on a bigger label, just a little bit bigger of a label with a little more promotion, these guys could have been like the greatest punk band of all time. Like they
could have been up there with Black Flag. Oh, for sure, been up there with Black Flag.
This album is better than most of the stuff Black Flag did. This album is better than most of the punk stuff that came out of this era that I've heard.
I wouldn't necessarily say better than Black Flag, because they had some great shit. I actually listened to all the Black Flag records today too, because I was driving around a lot today, so I listened to the Untitled and Valley today while I was driving. Then I'm like, fuck, I'm in this mood, like I gotta listen to more. So I listened to all the Black Flag records, even the newest one with Ron Reyes, when he came back. And dude, I think that's a fucking solid record too. I think it's better than some of the Rollins stuff. Honestly, I think it's better than a couple of the Rollins records. But yeah, no, the Black Flag, dude, they're so good. But yeah, Greg Ginn is a little far up his own ass, musically, but there's some great stuff on those.
But if we're just talking like rhythm section alone, like these guys.
Oh yeah, rhythm section, yeah. I know you're right. The rhythm section wise, yeah, they're better.
Just on this alone, just on this and Untitled is better than anything Robo ever did. Period.
Yeah. Oh no, you're right.
Hands
you're right.
down.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Like Bill Stevenson, great drummer, great producer, very influential. These two records, this and Untitled, better than they ever did.
Rhythm wise, yeah, I agree with you. On that. But damn, some of the Black Flag shit, man, it's so good.
And it's so dude, just to not even be like established like in any way, and coming from like Black Flag came from Hermosa. So
I know, right?
You're in an area where you have so much influence. You're fucking on the beach.
Yeah, but also,
and you make
Black
a little
Flag,
bit of surf tinge in your music. For these guys to be in the middle of shithole Phoenix, and Phoenix in the 80s is not like Phoenix it was today. Like you can look at like pictures of Phoenix in the 80s. It's a shithole. Too, it's still a shithole, but it's just fucking dirt. And for these kids to pull this off, it's unbelievable to me. It truly is unbelievable to me.
It's pretty crazy. And I remember when I was reading about the whole scene back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, the reason why they formed this band was because they didn't want to skate to like big arena rock bands like Aerosmith or Journey. They wanted to make music that they could skate to and like get pumped up about, and that's what this was. Like this is what I forgot some of the other bands that came out of the scene. There weren't very many, but or the ones that like I've ever even heard of. But yeah, that was really the reason for this band, was to, like you said earlier, it was to accompany their skating. Like that's what it was. They wanted to skate to this kind of music, so they decided to make it. Like they didn't want to rely on another band or anybody else, so they just did it, which is super cool. Super fucking cool.
Like the only other bands that came out of this era, I guess like the early 80s and mid 80s, that I've listened to a lot of Arizona bands because I'd want to get, like growing up in Southern California, it was just always there. So I didn't have to put any work into it. I just grew up with it. We grew up with it.
Yeah.
But now I have to put in the work and listen to these bands going backwards. But like bands like Meat Puppets, they're a huge band. I don't like them. I think they're fucking alternative boringness.
Yeah,
Nirvana liked them, but people like them. Boring. Don't care. Bands like Sacred Reich, they're like a thrash metal band. I think they're fantastic. They're phenomenal. Came after JFA. Bands like Flotsam and Jetsam. People know Flotsam and Jetsam because of Jason Newsted.
Yeah.
But they came out right around JFA did. They were thrash metal, speed metal, but they were in the same scene. But they had one album with Jason Newsted, and then he moved on to do bigger and better things. And that was the band became. We are the band that had Jason Newsted in it at that point.
Kind of like Hawkwind. You know, Hawkwind is the band that Lemmy was in before Motorhead.
Right.
Like that. I mean, Hawkwind are really good, but you know their biggest claim to fame is that Lemmy was in the band prior to Motorhead. But
and so it's kind
of the same idea.
It's I don't know. It's such a small music scene. It just really is, and I it's just because it's the fucking desert, and I don't. It's no disrespect to this area, even though this area is a desert, and I understand it's a desert and it's fucking shit out here, but. You know, there's nothing out here. There was never anything out here. There's never going to be anything out here because nobody wants to fucking live out here. And if Jimmy Eat World is the most successful band that has ever come out of this area, then I mean Marty Robbins was like born in Glendale, but what was it, like a million years ago?
Wait, who the fuck is Marty Robbins?
El Paso. You remember the song El Paso? Tammy's dad sings all the time. He says,
"What?"
The song El Paso. My heart into El Paso.
Oh, that song. Okay, okay, I know that song. Okay.
Did you say Tammy's dad sings it all the time?
No, not that song.
I'm pretty sure you did. That's fine though.
No, I didn't. That's fine.
That's okay.
I didn't, but that's fine. But anyway, what were we talking about?
Dude, just the scene out here. I found out so much
the scene,
dude, I found so much crazy facts about the skate scene, the music scene, just the scene in general. I have like 50 facts here.
Yeah, I was surprised at how big the skate scene was in Arizona. Like you said, I didn't think Arizona was like anything in the 70s and 80s. I didn't think that anything really came out of Arizona until the 90s. But that wasn't the case. Like the whole skate scene was wild. Like with it, the kind of shit that they were doing, just was so, kind of ahead of its time a little bit, and kind of bled into the SoCal scene. And from what I was reading, a lot of skaters from SoCal were traveling out to Arizona to check out what was going on out there, because it was like the fucking Wild West. It's crazy.
So just like skate in general, right? Like Southern California owns it completely, 100%. But what really like brought it up, like the whole like Dogtown and Z-Boys thing, is the California drought in the 70s. That's what made people like drain their pools or not fill their pools, and that like started like the vert trend in skateboarding, and that was like the mid to late 70s. And in like the 80s is when like the whole ollie thing was involved and invented, and people started doing more tricks with that. But the transition between the two was like kind of like Phoenix, was kind of like this area, because so like for instance, I'm gonna throw you out some stuff here that I looked up.
Go for it.
There's this thing called the Love Bowls. Did I seen you about the Love Bowls?
You sent me the link about all those stories. That some guy, I forgot who he was, but he created that website last year, just recounting all these like crazy, or all these like places around Arizona or Phoenix that were like skating areas, and like people in the scene can post stories about the particular pools and skate parks and everything before the skate park shut down.
Yeah. So
and I read a little bit about that.
A collective of people that are reminiscing on old times, and then you have to, as you should be doing with every piece of information you acquire on the internet, you weed in the good and the bad, and you put together your own information. So what I get is like the Love Bowl. So Brian, the singer for JFA, was on the cover of Thrasher magazine twice. Once in 1987, and that cover, I don't know if you looked at the cover, but he's skating this fucking, it looks like the side of a drive-in movie theater, like where they project the picture onto.
Yeah.
It's fucking huge. It's like 25 feet tall. And it's called the Love Bowls. And what it was is they were built for the new Dick Van Dyke Show.
Oh, I saw this picture. Yeah. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
It was supposed to be like these rotating half bowls thing that could capture like the sun in Arizona. But that new Dick I still can't do it.
Ooh, this is a tough one.
The new Dick Van Dyke Show. That's a tough thing to say though. New Dick Van Dyke Show. Say it fast.
Dick Van Dyke.
No, the
new Dick Van Dyke Show.
The
new Dick Van Dyke
practice.
Show.
You probably have it written down or something.
Well, actually, I'm in the process. I'm in the middle of watching Dick Van Dyke right now.
The new Dick Van Dyke,
no, the one from the '60s.
Yeah, so the new Dick Van Dyke only lasted 3 seasons because it fucking sucked and everybody hated it.
I'm surprised it even lasted 3.
But they set up in Carefree, and after like a season, they moved the studio to California, and like the bowl was just left. Like, because who gives a fuck what we build in the Phoenix desert? No one lives there. Let's just leave our shit there. So of course, all of the skaters and all the kids took it over, and it became this monument to just skating in like the early 80s. Because I think it was like late 70s that they moved to Glendale, California. But whatever, that was the Love Bowls. That was Brian's first Thrasher cover in 1987. But like, digging deeper into the skate culture, their second album, Untitled, that's them skating at a super secret spot in like Florence, Arizona.
Yeah, but that wasn't the Love Bowl, right? On the cover of that. No,
that was
one of the big pipe, the 24-foot pipes.
Florence pipes. And Florence, Arizona is like 40 miles south of Phoenix. And originally I thought that the cover was, because I've heard about these pipes that are under the Tempe Mesa area. And you have to like go into manholes and like crawl down ladders like you're fucking the lizard from Spider-Man and like go down into the sewer systems to skate these pipes. And that's what I thought it was, because I've heard of those before. Just like going to bars and stuff and talking to people that skate in the 80s and 90s. But what it is these giant pipes that are in Florence, Arizona, like I said, 40 miles south of Phoenix. And they go under the Gila River, which is a big river aside from the Salt River in the area. And I guess it was just like, it was crazy strict, and it took like miles to even walk to these pipes. And that picture is from these giant fucking pipes, these 30, 40 foot pipes. And an interview I was reading with Brian, talking to just some local guy doing an interview. He was just kind of reminiscing on how aggressive it was to ride these pipes, because you get to a point and you're going up and down like a half pipe. But if you hit that point of like no return, the point of the pipe to where now you're going up instead of on the downward, you know what I mean?
Yeah, where your skateboard's over your head.
Yeah. So now you're essentially going into a loop. And if you don't commit to the loop, or you go a little bit too high, you're going to crash hard.
Yeah.
And so he was talking about all that stuff. I thought that was I
read
really
some people who would do that, and they would the board would be over their head, and they wouldn't go with it properly. So then they would have like a 10-foot drop straight down onto the fucking concrete. Yeah. Like, that's fucking nut. Like, but they're talking about all the broken bones and shit. And
yeah. So you watch Jackass now, and when they're doing the loop, the actual loop, they go down the big hill and they do the loop. They have a mattress, and they throw the mattress out real quick in case
so
they see nobody's going to make the loop. Let's throw the mattress out. There was no mattress in the fucking 80s like this. They didn't throw mattresses out. These were kids hopping fences, climbing down manholes, dropping in on 40-foot fucking pipes with no supervision whatsoever. There were no safety precautions whatsoever.
Yeah. It's so rad. It's so fucking rad. And it makes sense, like, now that after this week and doing more research, because I never knew really, I didn't know anything about the Phoenix skate culture. And, going back and like playing the first Tony Hawk game, you get the downhill jam and that's supposed to be in Phoenix, Arizona.
It's the worst level.
I fucking hate that level, but
nobody likes it.
but it's just funny. Like I remember growing up, even up until a few months, like this week, I've always thought like, why is Phoenix, Arizona? Why is that the one city that's like picked out of all the levels? Why Phoenix? But now it makes perfect fucking sense because it was so important within the scene, and I had no fucking clue.
Because it really, like, Phoenix has always kind of been just like the truck stop on your way to LA, on your way to Southern California. Yeah. And so why not, like Buck Owens, like stopped here in Phoenix and did a bunch of recordings and stayed here for a while on his way to California. Like this, this is that's what it is out here. And so, but I mean, like, I don't know. It's a really cool scene out here. And the more I dig into it, but you got to dig. It's not just handed to you. Like you got to dig a little bit. Yeah. It's not a wasted state.
I'm curious if a lot of this stuff still exists. Like if the scene is still kind of there. Like if people are still going down into these fucking pipes.
No.
You don't think so?
No, because I ever since we started collecting and I've gotten into JFA, I now talk more about this scene to bartenders, locals, old guys, and no, because every city has a skate park. Like Gilbert has a fucking massive skate park with like 14-foot Comey pools, like straight out of Van's skate park in Orange. They have huge pools. Chandler's got like 3 skate parks. Mace has got like 4 skate parks. So you don't need to do these kind of things. And most of these skate parks, like they allow bikes, scooters, whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, whatever you want. And I was reading too that the skate scene back in the 70s and 80s was that they did have a bunch of skate parks, but then they all got shut down by like 1982, 83 because of liability issues with insurance, because everybody was fucking hurting themselves and suing the skate park, so they just shut them all down. So then they had to go underground. All these skaters had to go underground, and this is what happened. Like they fucking found these giant pipes. And the wildest thing not the wildest thing, but I thought was really interesting was that these fucking pipes exist. Like they are, I know. They're so fucking big. And then there was one thing on that site that you sent me that talks about how they actually moved those giant pipes. And dude, it's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Like they're so enormous. Like it doesn't even seem real. Like that these guys were going just to skate these pipes or these pools or whatever, it's just, it's so nuts. I think the first skate park that opened in Arizona was called Thrasherland. And Brian was actually on the cover again of Thrasher magazine in 1989, a couple years later. And Thrasherland opened up in Glendale. And I'm pretty sure it's gone now because the directions I gathered from that website, if you follow everybody's like, because nobody gives you an address. It's always like, oh yeah, dude, take the 3rd right, go 2 miles east. So like I looked at like 3 or 4 different directions and they all lead to the same place. And the place now is the Glendale PD training facility. So it kind of makes sense. Like the PD would like demolish a skate park and then build their training facility on top of it. Which I think is kind of funny. But from what I gather, like Thrasherland was this prefab skate park. Like it was, like prefabricated or whatever. And it went up for sale again in 2004 on eBay. Like whoever owned it was trying to sell the skate park or sell it. Dude, so fucking weird. But wow. But like you said, like these, I think it was like the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, these closed down because of the insurance. Yeah. It was like $1 to get in. And there's a bunch of like, if you just type in on YouTube, like Thrasherland or High Rollers. I think it's called High Roller. High Rollers is this website that has a bunch of documentaries on skating in the Phoenix area or the Arizona area. And there's all these interviews with guys that were there in like 1985 when it opened. And I don't know, it's cool to see. It's cool to see these guys from Phoenix hitting. I did watch that video. Yeah, I looked it up real quick. Yeah, I did watch that video.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see these guys hitting the same tricks that they do in like Southern California, but with no real ties to Southern California. And so again, what really like interested me about JFA, throwing it back to the beginning, is how the fuck do these guys have so much surf influence in their music being so far from the ocean.
True.
And like
Very
if I could ask any of the guys from JFA, that is like the number one question that I would ask them is, yes, I get it. People coming from Southern California to Phoenix in the area, they can bring a little bit, but without like the advent of like the internet and everything else that is there's so much. It's just,
how did you find it?
You're relying on word of mouth and magazines at that point. Mm-hmm. And it's just how the fuck
it had to have been magazines. That's the only, maybe TV. Well, I mean, actually, when you think about it, like Endless Summer came out in the 60s, and I mean that movie is wildly popular. It always has been. So
but
I mean that could have been a big
punk band with surf influences, though. Like now you have two cultures that did not start in Phoenix.
But then it could also be like Dead Kennedys.
But again, they didn't start in Phoenix either. So like
I know, but
you have two huge cultures that are nowhere near Arizona. 8 hours fucking Frisco area, the Bay Area, 15 hours from Phoenix. So it's you have all these cultures that are nowhere near Phoenix. How the fuck do these guys do it so well?
But then bands like Dead Kennedys but bands like Dead Kennedys would go through Phoenix on their tours and play a show in Phoenix. So I mean, you could get a lot of surf influence from some. I mean, that's just one example, but they're a big example of kind of spreading surf things.
But then don't forget, these guys are young too. It's not like these guys are like, 25. Oh, damn, we've heard surf music so long. No, like they're like, when they formed JFA, they're probably 14.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, how many shows did you go to that you really soaked in? Like, oh man, this is life changing at 12.
I think Brian was 14 when he joined the band, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was 14.
Dude, and then just, if we're still going on like the music scene in Arizona, I found out about this place called the Hate House. Did you read anything about the Hate House?
No, I didn't.
Like, I hate something. It's called the Hate House, or it was called the Hate House.
Mm-mm.
So what this was, apparently, was just some guy's house that he fucking rented. And he moved in. It was like a 4-bedroom house. And he converted like 3 of the 4 bedrooms into like studios. He'd have bands come and they'd practice and he'd rent them out. And then he boarded up all the walls, all the doors and windows except for like the back window. And he just took big old pieces of plywood and fucking nailed them to the door. So nobody could get in, nobody could get out. So there was like one way in, one way out. And this became like the place to play. And and then the master bedroom, he pulled everything out of it and it was like a venue. And he would have bands play at the Hate House and bands like the Meat Puppets that talk about the Hate House, how they were terrified to even go in there because it was such a punker place. I mean, I read stories about people bringing their dogs in and then like dogs getting shot because they just don't want the dogs there. A lot of people bringing guns in. The guy who even rented the Hate House got shot in the hand, but then like wouldn't press charges because he didn't want anybody in the house. He's like, "No, I'm fine. But like,
fucking shit, dude.
And like JFA at the time apparently prided themselves on just having insane live shows to where, this is the birth of slam dancing. This is the birth of that. People do it now, and you see the hardcore guys kicking around. It's cute. It's funny. Yeah. But these guys have no idea. These people in their early 20s, they have no fucking idea. We really don't have any idea because we grew up in the 80s. But like the birth of slam dancing, these are very aggressive people. Like very aggressive people.
Brian did an interview, I think last year or the year before. No, it was the beginning of this year, the 40th anniversary of I think it was of the band, the 40th anniversary of the band. And he had said they were talking about slam dancing, and he's like, "Yeah, we thought it was crazy here, because that's all they knew." But he said like when they opened up for Black Flag, he said it was just they opened for Black Flag in L.A. or somewhere here in California, and he said it was like on another level. Like he never had experienced anything like that. And he said that he jumped out into the. Did you read that interview?
No.
Yeah, and he because they opened, so he jumped out into the crowd to do his thing, and he just got the shit beat out of him while he was supposed to be singing. And he said it was like survival mode trying to get back onto the stage because he was just getting pummeled just by people just hitting him. Like, it's fucking nuts. He was saying like they thought it was crazy in Arizona, but once they opened for Black Flag, that was another level.
See, that's like a perfect example of what it's like living out here in this scene versus the California scene. Is because yes, we can go all day talking about how great the scene was out here, but it still doesn't compare to the Southern California scene. It just in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, man, that hate house. If you're ever just bored, just try and Google hate house and stories about the hate house. And, like I read this story about like the guy who owned the house specifically said, "Don't bring your fucking dogs here." And some guy brought his dog here, and went to the bathroom, came back, and somebody fucking shot his dog because they were tired of listening to a bark or something. Just fucking killed it.
God damn, dude.
Insane.
Fucking shit. And it makes me think too, like, dude, this shit would never fly anywhere anymore because of like, everybody has a fucking camera. And there was one story I read on the site you sent me. I forgot the guy's name, but he was writing about how he had like a Lords of Dogtown moment where they knew this guy would like only lived at his house for 6 months out of the year. And so they were there they had actually emptied the pool. The guy hadn't even emptied it. They emptied the pool and were skating in it for like weeks or maybe months or something like that. And the guy ended up coming home early, and there was a shit ton of people in the backyard just hanging out and skating and stuff. And the guy came out like screaming and yelling, and everybody just scattered. and it made me think, dude, that shit would never happen nowadays. Like neighbors would get a hold of that owner, or the owner would have, like, if the owner's not going to be there, there's going to be fucking cameras everywhere. Like that shit just does not. It's non-existent.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That's
wild.
That's a big thing. It's like from what I gathered, Phoenix has always been like on the rise as far as people moving to Phoenix, and still is. And so the developments, these big corporations that are buying up land, they're buying old houses, demolishing them, and building condos or building apartments. That has always been a thing since like the 90s. And so what I gathered about all these guys reminiscing on that website about like the olden days is they wait for an entire neighborhood to be bought up by whatever corporation, and that corporation, before they demolish it, they obviously they drain all the pools. And it's like fucking open season for these guys. The entire neighborhood, 10, 15 pools per block. And they just go from pool to pool to pool to pool. And after 3 months, they're gone. They move to the next neighborhood. And this is like 4, 5, 6 years for these kids. And just
it's crazy.
Like, what a fucking life.
I know, right? What a scene to grow up in.
How amazing.
Oh my God. It really made me just kind of just envy all of this shit. Like, I can barely skate myself. I could barely like move on a skateboard, but let alone do like an ollie. Like I could barely do an ollie, but it's just like, damn, dude. I think, dude, if I was born in like the late 70s, I would have totally been a part of this scene.
Yeah, you have to.
I think it's like in the early 70s, like it was a lot easier. If you wanted to be in the scene, you could do it. But by the time like in the 90s, like when you like the late 90s when you and I were growing up, like skating had gotten so advanced. For me at least, like it just seems so discouraging to even want to try to get better. That's how I felt, at least when it came to skating. Like I really wanted to get into it. I love skating, but I was never. I knew I could never do that well in it, so I just kind of gave up on it.
Yeah,
because it was way too advanced, and I knew I just didn't have the talent to do it, so I never went further with it. But in the 70s, fuck, dude, I at the beginning stages, I would have totally been more into it.
The 90s, it was a rough time for skating because everybody got better and more technical. And it wasn't until like late 2000s where people reverted back to like, oh, it's okay to just be vert. And like the late 90s when Ronald, Joe, and I got really heavy into skating. And then we went to like biking after that. But yeah, it's I don't know. Like now I would never dream of like hitting a 10 stair and trying to like grind down it, but I'll drop in like almost as long as the drop in's less than 6 feet. I'll drop in just about anything nowadays because I just like riding. I like skating. It's fun. I skate to the mailbox almost daily.
Yeah,
I enjoy it. It's just fun. But the 90s, I feel like were a very transitional period from everyone just trying to take it further and further and further, and then the 2010s, and then now especially. We're like revert because it's in the Olympics and shit now, and like we're reverting back to just skating's fun. Just go out there and skate.
Yeah, especially now that I feel like because it seems like longboards are getting more popular now in the last few years. So it's like people are just doing it more as like a leisure thing rather than let's try to
dope.
outdo all of our friends, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Just skate because it's fun. It's a good way to get around.
Yeah. Yep. So let's get into Little Big Man. We haven't
Little
talked
Big
about
Man.
any of the music.
I know none of the music here. Little Big Man. This is my favorite non-cover song. This is my 2B.
Okay. This is my 1B in general. So
Okay. Yeah, this is my 2B. Little bass intro, pick slide in. Like, what more do you want? You know what I mean? Like, this is
it's great.
This is how you kick off a song, and this is another song where the bass is just fucking insane.
It's so squirrely. I fucking love it.
But
it kind of breaks at like, you know, it breaks as well. So it's not like you're just constantly being pummeled. There's like a slight relief with the bass too, and it's perfect. It's just absolute perfect for this song.
That main bass riff, like the one that they play throughout the song, the one that they're grinding into your head, just truly amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It is top-notch stuff. Like instrumental wise, this band on this song is top-notch. I like how the guitar just rings out single chords while the bass is just like encouraged to shine. and then there's like times where you realize that he's playing a riff, but then you realize he's doubling up on the notes.
Yeah.
And you think, like, what the fuck? Like, you're 14 or 15, bro. Like, what are you doing? Who taught you how to do this? And that's another thing, too. Like, where did your influence come from? Like you get, like, Rollins and you get Dez and you get these guys from Black Flag, and they have their influences. They have, oh, yeah, I remember seeing this band play live at the Troubadour. I remember seeing this band play live. But, like, where did these guys come from? Like, there was not a lot of influence playing in Phoenix in the 70s to where these kids were growing up watching. It was only by word of mouth or passing, like, records along.
I feel like it's also, you know, being that young, you're more inclined to just kind of go off the wall, like just not even give a fuck, like be unconventional. You're way more likely to be unconventional, and that's why you get so many bands whose first records are way better than everything else because, you know, as a band progresses, they get more and more like, let's do more of the status quo. Let's do more basic stuff. Let's not experiment as much, like in an exciting way. And I think it's a being young. It's the young mentality of just like, who gives a fuck? I'll just do whatever the fuck I want. And that's what you get here. I mean, you hear it with almost every fucking band, punk band, metal band. It's their first record, 2-3 records are just, they're usually the best because they just don't care. I'm fucking like dumbfounded on how this band could have been so good. Cause like Black Flag, maybe they saw like the Ramones play in LA or whatever, but there was also a scene like, you know, where Rollins came from in DC and all that stuff. So there was a hardcore scene going on.
To think that same hardcore doesn't matter. To think that same hardcore scene was heavy in Phoenix is silly because it wasn't. Weird. It wasn't. There was no scene. There was no scene in Phoenix, and so
I feel like
the influence these kids have came strictly off of word of mouth, practice, and just an overall mindset of who gives a fuck.
Yeah, and I'll say it again, but I think it's also because, you know, Phoenix was a place where a lot of bands played a show before they came to California. Like you said, it's a stopping point. Maybe though. But I remember they said that the first show they ever played was with Black Flag, and it was in Phoenix. It was at I don't know, I forgot what the venue was, but their first show was opening for Black Flag in Phoenix, because Black Flag were doing a tour and they happened to pass through Phoenix, like a lot of bands do, because the 10 freeway takes you fucking all over the United States. So
right, but that's like I don't know, like Black Flag is the band that this band seemed to have emulated all of their stuff from, but also like there's other influence that they got, and I don't know how, because Black Flag had it easy. All these bands have it easy because the Ramones did it before them, and we don't really like the Ramones, but the Ramones were still kind of semi-aggressive. There were some distorted tones there. The Ramones did things that nobody was really doing. Didn't do it good, but they were still doing some things that were innovative, and that like. Dude, the fucking JFA's never seen the Ramones. The Ramones never stopped by Phoenix at this point.
They probably
no way.
Did. Come on.
No, fuck no.
Come on.
They went from Texas straight to California. The Ramones never fucked with Phoenix. Are you kidding me? Yeah, Phoenix is a joke, and no, hell no.
All right, so what do you got? What do you got lyrically on Little Big Man?
I scrolled up a little bit because I remember where the place they played at their first show was one. It wasn't the Freemason, but it reminded me something of that.
What was it?
It was like the Knights. I know it's not this, but it was like the Knights of Sidonia. That's what I read when I saw it. It reminded me of that.
Yeah, it's definitely not Knights of Sidonia.
Lyrically, Little Big Man on the surface, like it's an aggressive song about stepping up to like someone who treats you like crap. Like deeper, I think it just goes from just like a bully figure to police to government in general. And I think it's kind of cool how the song itself escalates in that fashion, as well as the lyrics. And we've been talking about instrumental wise the whole time, but I think Brian's lyrics were pretty fucking good for a teenager.
Yeah, for a teenager,
and a
absolutely.
stupid punk band in the 80s.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. I feel like they were advanced. He's not a dumb guy. He wasn't a dumb guy as a teenager, and yeah, I was kind of pleasantly surprised by it considering their age. So yeah, it was good stuff. I agree with you on Little Big Man. It's talking about, you know, I think it's like saying like as a teenager you're dealing with the bullies, but as an adult you're dealing with the cops, but it's the same kind of person. So it doesn't matter whether or not you're young or older, you're still dealing with the same bullshit through your entire life. So that's kind of what I viewed on it. But so that Little Big Man, that's my 1B. So then what's your 1B?
Baja. This is the Astronauts cover.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the surf cover. The better of the two surf covers, even though they're both really good. No,
they are. Baja is my 2B. So we've got our first 2Bs covered at this point. Yeah. But at the astronaut, okay, so I couldn't figure out who did this song, but I'm pretty positive this song was in Endless Summer. I'm pretty damn sure it is.
I thought I made you buy this record. Do you not have this record?
No.
Maybe it was Sloan or something.
I don't think I have this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, you should.
But I swear that at least that riff is in Endless Summer. I know it is because I just watched it in the summer like a couple months ago. It's gotta be, but I guess I'll look it up later. But
what's really cool is Baja and Walk Don't Run. Like if you're vaguely familiar with the songs, then they sound pretty damn similar. This is one of those times where I would be like, oh, it's just they didn't do anything really different to this. But like I'm very familiar with Baja and Walk Don't Run, and Baja is now my favorite surf song, and it's fucking vastly different. Like the original,
very different. Just the riff itself. It's so. I feel like it's just an iconic sounding riff.
Like the original has that. It's like this effect on the picking parts, and it sounds bubbly. Mm-hmm. And here it's straightforward, and he's just picking a distorted guitar, like the lead, and so it's like that alone is different. I don't know what effect they're using. It's like a verb and something else on the original, and it goes like wah, 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 almost like a wah sound.
Okay, maybe a little bit of a delay.
Maybe. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's I love that the picking here matches the beat with the hi-hat. Like it's just on point perfectly. I think it's fun, and the biggest difference between the two is the bass. The bass in the original, again, like I mentioned earlier, surf music has 3 guitarists, and the bass player just is a metronome. But here, like holy fuck, man, he is just killing it. He is going up and down. He's writing his own little riffs. He's following. He's leading. It's absolutely amazing. It's mesmerizing. It's so fucking good.
It really is. It really fucking is. So I'm going to play a little bit of Baja right now, and then we'll get more into it. So here it is from JFA. There you go. Baja from JFA. The best surf song on this record out of the two. But, dude, I love it. I love that riff. And what I just love about surf music is how the amount of reverb they use, it just sounds like, it's just so distinctive. It just sounds like wet. That's like the best way to describe it. It just, it's so weird. I don't know how else to describe it, but I love that. I just love that reverbed out tone. And
you know that like cliche thing where whatever it is, it's only a blank knows how it feels, or people will say like only a surfer knows how it feels.
Oh, okay, yeah,
like that type of thing.
Yeah,
but it does hold merit, which actually it does hold merit, because if you didn't grow up like around the beach, and just, you don't need to be like a skater, a surfer, or whatever, just being immersed in the culture itself, just through osmosis, you learn so much. You're a part of it. You go to shows with people that are like that. And Southern California is truly like such a great place. We've been to a lot of places.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Southern California culture is truly, truly unique in that it's very diverse, it's very accepting, it's very unique, and it's an amazing place to grow up. Unfortunately, it's not the way anymore, but
yeah,
it was a very, very, very cool place to grow up. But the astronauts, they're from Colorado. They're not even from the beach area. I know. Weird. I know.
It's like CCR. You know, you think they're from from Mississippi or something, but no, they're from fucking Lodi, California.
Dude, even more crazy is the Trash Men, like the bird song, the surfing bird. That song.
Oh yeah.
They're from fucking Minnesota.
What?
Like the two biggest like surf songs like of all time. Like those two are not even from California's.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But Baja, great stuff.
Baja, great stuff. I know.
And now that I think about it, I might have an Astronauts record. I don't know though. I have to go look.
I thought you did. This is one that was an early on in our, in our collecting. And
I'm literally right next to my collection right now. So let's see. It's Jorge Ben. No, it's not. We're not looking at Brazil. We're looking at not Les Baxter.
Don't have them labeled the way you probably should be. That's fine though.
I do, but I don't have the Astronauts. No, I don't have any A's in this section. Because I put surf stuff under my World or Exotica section.
What are you doing? What?
Where else would I put it?
You don't have a soft rock section at least?
No, I have.
Where do you put your Beatles?
I put my Beatles in classic rock.
What is classic? Yeah. So like Beatles are next to like fucking Sabbath?
No. Okay, so my main section. Here we go. My main section is pretty much all rock music from like the early 1980s to now. So all rock, indie rock, modern metal, punk, it's all in one section. And then I have my hip hop and pop section. And then I have my prog section, which actually is pretty fucking big. And then I have my world and exotica section. And then I go to classic rock. And then I go to jazz, blues. And then I go to country. And then everything else is miscellaneous. Soundtracks, big band, shit like that. Classical. So those are my sections.
That is fucking nuts.
Otherwise, I'm gonna have too many tabs and too many things. It's not fun.
I just feel like I would be embarrassed putting like Beatles next to Zeppelin in the same tabs.
Well, it's in the same section. Yeah.
That's.
I mean, I also have Haley Williams. I also have Haley Williams right next to Wu-Tang.
Yeah, I'd feel embarrassed every time I want to listen to Wu-Tang. I'm like, I'm in the mood for hip hop. Let me go to Wu-Tang. Oh, and then Haley Williams. Yeah.
I might listen to Haley Williams. It's a good record.
Yeah,
it is a good record.
Okay.
But then I go from Primus to Postal Service, or like Offspring
in the same Primus, area, Postal in the same.
It's all right next to each other.
What are you doing with your life? What is going on?
Let me see. I have No Effects, No One Special, The Offspring, Pennywise, Primus, Queens of the Stone Age, Radiohead. Yeah, it's just that's consecutively.
It's all.
Oh, and then Postal Service is
so wrong.
No, it's all right.
No, it's so wrong.
It's so good. Oh man, I love it.
Okay,
I got a great vinyl collection.
You're getting there. I'm not gonna lie, you're getting
I
there.
have the best vinyl collection. Anyway, do we got anything else on Baja? Should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. What's your 3B?
My 3B. Well, what's your 3B? I'm curious.
Great Equalizer.
Really?
Yeah, the second song.
All right, Great Equalizer. That is my 6B. So what do you got on this one?
First of all, it's a dope song. I love the tom usage and like incorporating some of the palm mute stuff. So I think that's kind of fun. And it's bouncy. The song's bouncy. The bass comes through heavy and like drives that riff forward. And there's some really amazing stuff here. When they speed like the riff up, the drummer isn't just punking out like a 1-2 fast beat, right? He's got a good groove. And that's what I noticed most in that. I think that sentence structure makes sense. That's what I noticed most important about this album.
Dude, you're having a tough time with this.
I know. Well, I got my fucking hazy IPA that I drank earlier. That's 7%er.
Ooh, wild.
I know. But yeah, that's something I noticed a lot is the drummer isn't just a punk drummer. He doesn't just hit those 1-2s as fast as he possibly can, like some of those Black Flag folks do. But he does. He plays fast and he plays open a lot. There's a lot of like open cymbals going on in this album. There's a lot of open hi-hats. It's not just super fast, boring shit. Yeah, he's a really good drummer. And then also the bass player, dude. The bass is noodling real quick. And the guitar's doing like the offbeat ska thing. Are you fucking kidding me?
The upstrokes really stood out to me on that one. Yeah, it's really good.
Great Equalizer. Third best song.
Yeah, it's definitely less aggressive, especially coming off of the first song, which just fucking kicks your ass. It's called Kick You, so I guess that kind of makes sense.
It's my 9.
But yeah, that one's just like what a fucking punk song that is. But yeah, it really does kind of slow down and is much less aggressive. I love the upstroking of the guitar and the bass playing, like you said, like every song on this record, the bass player just fucking kills it. So I think it's a really good song. Should we play a little bit of it? Get into it more?
It's your like 15 Bs, so I don't know if you want.
No, it's my 6 B. That's fine. Oh. I have 12 Bs on this record, so just throwing that out there. So here's a Great Equalizer from JFA. There you go, Great Equalizer from JFA. Dude, I like it. Dude, like I said, that part when it everything kind of stops and the drums just kick back in really quick. The bass comes in and the upstroke guitar. Fuck, it's so good. It really kind of catches you off guard when you listen to this record because you're just expecting just punch in the face punk rock, but then they throw in these little things, man. It's so fucking good.
Honestly, dude, like their delivery is just punk of this era. It is hardcore punk. Their delivery is that. They really try hard to be that, but they just can't help but be better. Mm-hmm. And that's what like separates them from other hardcore bands, the hardcore punk bands of this era is they are really good at their instruments for being so fucking young.
I know.
I cannot get over that.
It's not just being young. It seems like so disconnected from the main scene, you know? I think it's also that. It's not just being young.
Like imagine like fucking Martians landing on Earth and playing music that was so goddamn good. And they're like, yeah, we've never even heard of like any of your good bands. And you're like, well, how the fuck did you get so good? Like, I don't know. Like that's JFA. And just how the fuck did you get so good? I don't know.
Oh God. And then lyrically on this one, for me, it's just like, it's a hypothetical scenario. Like had Ronald Reagan died after being assassinated, or if he had been assassinated, and then everything turned into anarchy. Like it's like a very short story on a what if, That's what I got on this one.
Okay.
What do you think?
I saw this more of like a passing the guard type of thing.
Oh.
Because the Reagan culture JFA was involved in and grew up in wasn't what they wanted for their America.
Yeah.
So in the song, like they literally thanked the old guard and reassured that anarchy and fighting the power will prevail. Mm-hmm. And I think given that, and then also knowing where they like JFA will end up, Brian like joining the military, things like that. I think this band did see themselves as a sort of middle ground between like the respectable World War II era to, I guess now, like where we're at now as regards to war and stuff. But at the time, like respecting your veterans, but then growing up and learning that war is horrible for everybody, and why do you need to respect your veterans type of thing.
And that's growing up during the Vietnam War, because the Vietnam War had just ended less than 10 years prior. So, I mean, I see what you mean there.
Yeah, so they grew up in like the 80s. We were born in the 80s, so we didn't grow up in the 80s. We were born in the late 80s.
Yeah.
We barely grew up in the 90s, to be honest. And so like we don't know really.
Born in 87, come on.
But we didn't, like you say we grew up in the 90s.
We did.
By the time the 90s were over, we're like 12. Okay. So you do most of your growing up between like 10 and 18. So we really grew up in like the 2000s.
Early 2000s. Late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, for sure missed the 80s, 100%.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So like the 80s was a very weird time. We talk about it all the time, dude. The 80s was a very weird time, especially in music and just politics and world events. 80s was fucking bizarre. Nobody really knew what the fuck to do.
Yeah, I mean, just think about the current events of the time. I mean, there was no real active war going on. I mean, the Cold War, obviously, but then the Cold War ends, and then it's just like what? It's just so fucking weird. And fashion-wise, musically, movies, everything was just, the American dream was essentially ending. That was really just kind of the beginning of the end of the American dream. And dude, the 80s were fucked in so many ways.
The 80s were like just a byproduct of the 70s bleeding from the 60s, and then people just being tired of that shit. And where do we go from here? The 80s were just lost.
Agreed.
80s sucked. I mean, we were born in the 80s. So that was great. But other than that, the 80s sucked. It was a shit. It really was.
It's crazy to see like the jump in consumerism from the 70s to the 80s as well. Like the 80s were dominated by advertising and consumerism and just wastefulness. That's really what the 80s was. It's crazy. Just how quickly things changed.
Just thinking about too, like the moon landing. I don't know why I just thought of this, but it's so fucking bizarre. It is so crazy how long it's been since, I put quotation marks, anybody landed on the moon.
Yeah.
How fucking insane is that?
Well, that's always been the conspiracy theory, right? Like, why haven't we been on the moon for so long?
I mean, there's nothing to do there. How many golf balls can you really hit on the fucking moon?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Why haven't we been there in so long?
It's so crazy.
Something's going on.
It's just something that it's been 50 years.
Well, I mean, since we first landed, we've been there since, but it has been decades since we have been.
It's crazy.
But anyway, do we got anything else on Great Equalizer?
No, that's it.
Okay, so that was your 3B.
Yeah.
So then my 3B is, drum roll please, I Don't Like You.
I Don't Like You.
My number 3. So we're at this point we're back to like really fast, aggressive, just straight fucking punk music. Some of the squirreliest bass lines on this song. Oh, it's so good. I just love the aggression of this coming off of Walk Don't Run. Like you just get this nice intermission, not intermission, but just break from the insanity, and then you just get right back into it, like straight up back into it, and then you go back into fucking surf shit. So it's like, it's weirdly placed. It really is, but I fucking love this song. What do you think?
It is. It's such a weird placement. And JFA produced their own album, so like it was engineered by whoever ran Placebo Records. And Brian and the guys from JFA have always said that Tony, the guy who owned Placebo Records, JFA would be like nothing had it not been for him, because he did so much work, so much boots to the ground work for JFA to get them as popular as they could possibly be. But this comes down to sequencing, and I actually put this is a banger / not banger for me, because
why is that?
Because I think the sequencing's fucking weird. I think it's just bizarre. It just doesn't make any sense.
The surf stuff could have been like Baja could have been later on in the record, because by the time you get to like track 11 and 12, you're like, okay, I've heard a lot of this stuff. Like,
yeah,
like I need a break.
Why not just open and close the record with the covers, the surf covers? Just
that's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
But so Baja opens side 2 of the vinyl, and then I Don't Like You closes side 1. So Walk Don't Run is the second to last song. You flip it over and you have another surf song. I think that's bizarre. I think that's weird. I think that comes from the band sequencing their own album. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think it's bizarre. But I think the song is a fucking banger. And I make fun of like the easy 3-chord punk song a lot, because that's what this song is. The 3-chord verses, fucking easily digestible, but it's good. It's got a little tinge to it. And I think I think that it has a tinge to it.
You think, yeah.
I think that I think. Yeah, because I'm thinking that I'm talking about myself. Asshole. I'm thinking that it has a tinge of surf music to it, because it's sandwiched in between 2 surf songs, but it really does. There's a little bit of like surf tinge to it that you can hear, that it comes through, that is not just like a cheesy, easy punk song. I think it is a well thought out punk song that they did. It just so happened to be easy 3-chord verses, and that's exactly what the verses are, just easy 3-chord verses. You know where it's going. But this would have been it was a B / not B. This would have been like a 7 or 8 B for me.
Okay. All right. I understand. I understand what you mean. I think it's just also, I love the simplicity of it. Like lyrically, it doesn't really, there's not a lot there. I think at the most it's like his criticism of adults who are narcissists. Yeah. And that's pretty much that's what it is. Like he just repeats himself a lot. The I don't like you. I can't stand you. I mean,
I think a good third of this album is just pure angst, just teen angst.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Nothing deeper than just I'm pissed off at something. I don't know what to do with myself.
And that's fine. Like if how you're presenting it sounds authentic and it doesn't sound whiny, like I totally get it. Because when you're angsty, it just sounds more sincere if you're actually pissed off, rather than just like emo shit where you're just like, black my eyes and slit my wrist, whatever that fucking Hawthorne Heights song is.
Slit my wrist and black my eyes.
Yeah, slit my wrist and black my eyes.
Bro, okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not a huge Hawthorne Heights fan, bro. But I just feel like it sounds more sincere when you're angsty and actually angry, not crying. But whatever.
Heights. They're from Ohio. Like, what the fuck comes out of Ohio? He's like cool college football or whatever. Dumb Hawthorne Heights. Fuck out of Ohio.
Fucking, I hate that band, dude. Oh, they suck so much. So here's I Don't Like You from JFA. There you go. I Don't Like You from JFA. Dude, that song is so fast. Dude, everyone plays so fucking fast. And when you think, I don't even want to call it the bridge, but like a little over halfway through the song, because the song's like a minute and 10 seconds long. Like at like the 40-second mark, the bass player just tries to noodle a little bit, but they're just playing so fast that he has no time to noodle. So you'll hear like he throws in a couple like higher notes in there just for fun, or just to like accent the song a little bit, and it just sounds so rad. But like you could tell he wants to do more, but there's just no time, no fucking time, because they're playing so fast.
Yeah,
Love
this is like a perfect example of a song where these kids wanted to form a punk band, and this is a song where they're just okay. Let's just do a traditional fucking really fast aggressive punk song, and let's just have fun with it. And they all did.
Fucking so good. So good. So
It's
what do you got
solid.
for your what was your 3B, or we already did, your 3B was the Great Equalizer. What's your 4B?
4B is Preppy.
Preppy, okay.
Preppy.
All right. That's my 9B. Okay.
I thought this was funny. It's a song called Preppy, and the song itself is also kind of preppy sounding, you know, it's a little pop punky. I thought it was cute. It was a little tongue in cheek. They're expanding their base a little bit. They're making songs that are not just punk songs, but now they're blending subject matter with sound and doing a good job at it.
Mm-hmm.
And like the bass he's not just throwing out single notes here. He's like, this is one of the times where he's cramming a ton of fast notes, and they're fast enough to where you can miss them. Like you think he's hitting single notes, but he's hitting doubles all the time.
Yeah. And for me, I think this is like a direct throwback to the Ramones. There's a lot of Ramones kind of stylings in this one. It might just be because of the palm mutes and all the downstrokes, because that's really what made the Ramones the Ramones. But I also feel like calling the song Preppy is also kind of, I don't want to say making fun of the Ramones, because the Ramones were like when you're comparing punk music from like 1977 to 1981, like the Ramones were preppy. I mean, they were.
It was just a lack of a scene, but yes,
yeah,
I agree.
And I feel like it's them kind of like paying tribute to the Ramones, but also kind of like making fun of them in a way.
Yeah,
that's what I get, because the song itself is very Ramones sounding. It's catchier like the Ramones, and then it's the palm mutes too. But the vocals, man, super fucking sloppy. I love it.
Yeah, and
I love the sloppiness.
Like, I don't know, there's just a lot of cool things, like lyrically, vocally. They don't like preppies, and
yeah,
I think it's funny because preppies, he makes fun of the fact that they all, like we said earlier, that they all dress alike and they're like clones, which is funny because the punkers are fucking clones, dude. They all dress the same.
I know.
And he mentioned a bunch of things like Topsiders, Lacoste, the alligator thing, the Pierre Cardin, all of these name brand things that he was dropping, and I thought that was really funny. Whereas the punkers are literally dressing or going out of their way to dress the same.
Yeah, going out of their way to not conform, yet they all conform to the same ideals. Yeah, it's
the only difference was like incorporating skate culture, because skate culture is derived from the surf culture, and punkers who also kind of like dabble in the skate culture are different than punkers who don't. Like punkers that listen to Black Flag exclusively who don't skate or surf are different than the punkers who listen to Black Flag that also skate or surf. Completely different scene,
I totally
different look.
agree.
And
I feel like the ones who don't skate or surf are also the ones that are more, I don't want to say narrow-minded, but they're much more traditional in what they like.
Yes.
Like they don't want to experiment, they don't want to go outside of their comfort zones, but I feel like the ones who skated and surfed, they were like, fuck, we'll listen to anything. We'll have all these things, different things influence us in our music, and this is a perfect example of that. So
the ones who didn't skate or surf are probably the ones who appropriated the skinhead culture and made it into like a Nazi thing. Those are the punkers that I don't like. Fact or fiction. Like that guy on the TV show.
What?
You ever watch Fact or Fiction?
I don't think so. No.
What? You never grew up watching Fact or Fiction?
I don't think so.
Oh my God!
Wait, is that the show with the guy from Star Trek?
Yeah.
Okay, I did watch that. I did watch that. Yeah.
He would throw out 4 stories a night, and then like one of them was real. The 3 of them were fake.
What a dumb show, man! What a way to spread like misinformation. What an easy way to spread misinformation. God damn, dude.
So good.
That's a psyop, baby.
Until you literally just said it now, I never even realized it was the guy from Star Trek.
Yeah.
And you never even watched that season of Star Trek. You never watched Next Generation, did you?
No, I didn't. But I mean, he's a very recognizable person. But there was like that thing that came out a year or two ago where they like compiled like 5 minutes of him saying that's false or that's fake. And it's like the way he says it is exactly the same. He might change the wording, but he says it exactly the same. And it's just like a minute of him saying, or 5 minutes of him saying that. It's so stupid. But yeah, so should we play a little bit of Preppy?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Here we go. JFA and the song Preppy. There you go, Preppy from JFA. These songs are fucking short, like less than a minute and a half. So
yeah.
So there you go, Preppy. That was your 4B, right?
Yeah, that's like my 4B.
Okay. Do we got anything? You got anything else on that one?
No, that's it.
Okay. So my 4B, we talked about it a bit already. It's Walk, Don't Run. Should we get more into that? Should we play it? What do you think?
That's my 5B.
Okay.
It's a classic. I mean, it's such an iconic surf song, and what's different about this one in the OG version is, I mean, it's not like to the untrained ear, there's not a lot of differences, but it's faster, it's more aggressive, and it's got way more distortion, and it's like punked out in these little subtle ways that you don't realize until you hear the preppy, boring original version.
I'm with you on that one for sure. But it's not like a straight up punk song.
No.
But it still really holds true to the original, but it's not a blatant ripoff, which is nice. Because they could have easily done that.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's a giddy.
So what do you think? Should we play it?
It's all right. We already played one surf song.
Okay. So then what's your 5B?
That was my 5B.
Oh, that was. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, fuck. That's right. Yeah, you just said that. I'm dumb.
I did just
That's
say that.
dumb.
You are dumb.
Better watch your fucking mouth.
No. Okay. Well.
So my 5B is Guess What? The closing song, closing track.
Guess what?
Yeah.
That's my 6B. That's my 6B.
6B. Okay, that's good. That's good. This is like this is a really great fusion of the surf and punk sounds that they've been going at, but this is the best example of that on the song on the closer, and I just love how it kind of like slows up, speeds down at all the right moments. It's a unique song on this actual record. Like this could have easily been a higher B, but it's just when the band's aggressive, they're really good. When they do their surf shit, they're really fucking good. So I don't know. It's hard to rank this one higher, but it's such a banger.
I agree. Like they're just better songs, and this is still a really, really good song. It's just there are better songs, and this song is fantastic. First of all, the drum rolls in, and that drum roll is so dope, and he's yelling so loud and angrily, and there's like this total shift change towards like the end of the song. It slows down kinda, and then it's just like the rhythm section having their own moment, like the last moment of the record. Fucking great. That's how you outro it perfectly. And then coming off I-10, the instrumental track before it, I think it's
instrumental too.
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, because I after hearing the surf instrumentals, you're like, okay, that's cool, but then you get a punk instrumental, like especially one like this, like it just doesn't happen very often.
Does a punk instrumental exactly? What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I-10 is my 8B on this one. Might as well talk about both of them because does it sit as a banger for you?
Yeah, I-10's my 7B.
Okay, so we might as well talk about both of them because they I guess they kind of go hand in hand. But the bass playing on I-10 is so Jeff Kresge. Like, actually, a lot of this record reminds me of Kresge because he has that squirrely bass sound, and like on Answer That on that AFI record, dude, his bass playing is just. It's one of my favorite bass performances out of anybody I've ever heard, and because he's all over the place, but still melodic and still just fucking fast and aggressive, and I love it. And the tone, I heard so much of early AFI on this record as well.
Dude, that's interesting because I heard a lot of other bands from this record too, and because this came out so early, and like we forget, like this is 1983, you know what I mean? Like this is so early in the punk game. There's a lot of Bouncing Souls on this record.
Oh yeah, no, I heard a lot of Bouncing Souls too.
Ton of Bouncing Souls.
Like early Bouncing Souls, like The Good, the Bad, and the Argyle, a little bit of Maniacal Laughter.
It's so
a lot
cool.
of early stuff.
I think it's so rad to hear these bands that released albums in the early 90s, but got influence from bands in the 80s. And as much as JFA is a kind of like an unknown band, they're like well known in the punk scene.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's really cool.
I can't believe it just took so long for you and I to get into this band, especially me. Like, fuck, man. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
It's Phoenix, bro. It's Arizona. It's desolate.
Okay, should we play a bit of Guess What or I-10?
Whichever one you want, kid.
Let's do Guess What because it's okay. Unique. So here we go from JFA. Oh, it's so groovy, that ending. And just the totally reverbed out guitar, man. What a song.
It's such a perfect ending to an album.
It is. It's fucking perfect. It's amazing. I love it. Lyrically on this one though, I just get, it's about a popular girl who just gossips to everyone, and that's all it is. It's just him talking shit on that girl. That kind of person.
Yeah, that's like almost exactly what I got. He's just making fun of gossip. And then
gossip queens, yeah.
But because like the scene and the world in Phoenix in the 80s was probably so incredibly small, like everybody probably knew each other.
Yeah. I like it. Like after figuring out what the lyrics were about and then looking at the title, Guess What? Like that's the perfect the perfect thing to like make fun of about the person, because people who gossip always go, "Oh, guess what I heard?
Guess what?
Guess what? Guess what I heard?"
Yeah.
Did you hear about this? It's just like, come on, man. It's such a perfect title for this song. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So that's my 5B. And so your 6B was, we already talked about that.
Yeah, 6B was Guess What? 7B was the I-10.
Okay. We've talked about almost everything.
Yeah.
I feel, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything else here that I really care to really talk about, but
yeah, I'm just going through my notes again really quick. I mean, actually, we could talk about the 2 43-second songs. So Skateboard and then We Know You Suck. I mean, they just happen so quickly. You don't even know that they're two different songs. I think the only thing that really stands out between the two is that on We Know You Suck, it doesn't really sound like it's Brian singing. It sounds kind of like somebody else. Did you kind of hear that?
Yeah,
It
because
seems like a little bit higher.
We Know You Suck is the one above all else on this album that I thought sounded just like the Bouncing Souls.
Okay.
Like the Bouncing Souls do this, especially in their first several EPs and in their first album. The Bouncing Souls do this, and it sounds just like it. And this one has like a lot of heavy surf vibes, like the spoken word part. That's very like Jan and Dean and Surf Punks. And Surf Punks is a band that I discovered like through vinyl, and I've played them on the pod before, and like this sounds like Surf Punks, and that's like a late 70s punk surf band, I guess. But
not nearly as good as JFA.
No, I mean Surf Punks is novelty 100%, not I don't know, content.
JFA were just better. Yeah, JFA were just way better. But okay, do you want to play anything else? Skateboarder, We Know You Suck, or anything else? Honestly,
no, I am good. I do want to mention that aside from JFA being named Jodie Foster's Army, which we talked about earlier, I read that Brian said that at some point Rodney Bingenheimer of K-Rock fame actually
Rodney
gave Jodie Foster one of JFA's early EPs to listen to. Yeah, and she listened to it, and apparently all she said was, "Neat."
Oh, that's a perfect response. I love it.
Neat.
That's great.
That's like literally, you cannot get more. I hate this, but okay.
I know. I love it was Rodney on the Rocks that fucking gave it to her. Like of all the people, man.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. And I mean, we didn't really touch upon why it's called Jodie Foster's Army, but they based it off of the guy who tried to assassinate Ronald Reagan, like in the early 80s, failed obviously, and he claimed that he did it to impress Jodie Foster because he was obsessed with the movie Taxi, where she played a teenage prostitute, and it's super fucking weird.
Fucking weird.
Yeah, so they named the band after that.
Which part of that story is more weird? Like that he tried to kill somebody in the name of someone else, or the person he was thinking of was like an underage prostitute? Like it's
all weird.
It's all so weird.
Yeah. Did I say it's Taxi Driver? It's not Taxi.
Taxi Driver, yes.
Taxi is the TV show with Andy Kaufman. But yeah, so that's all I got for JFA. I don't know. What else you got? You got anything else?
No, dude, I'm done. We talked. We did a lot. We went over a little bit of the Arizona music scene, which is something I've been wanting to do for a while.
Yeah,
and
I feel like we missed out on so much, though. Like I feel like we didn't.
We didn't, though. We didn't. We just talked about it. We're done.
Okay, all right.
But we didn't though, because we've been listening to Jimmy World for fucking decades.
I know.
And I mean, besides that, like Linda Ronstadt is a huge Tucson native and released a bunch of albums, but do you fucking care? Oh, actually, she does have a mariachi album that's fucking fantastic.
Really?
I will say yes.
What the fuck?
At least one mariachi album
weird.
that's fantastic.
That's bizarre. Would have never expected that.
Oh, so good.
How do you know? Like what?
I think because in my quest of searching for, because I've listened to a lot, and actually JFA makes fun of another band called the Jetsons, which are an early 80s new wave band from the area. And I see their albums all the time, and they have really cool covers. And I almost bought one just sight unseen because it was just a local band. But I listened to it, and it's fucking shit. So just in my quest for learning a lot, as much as I can about Arizona music, I do not like Linda Ronstadt. But I heard she had a mariachi album, and I was like, fuck it, dude, let's throw it on. And it's fantastic.
All right. So let's give our final thoughts on this record, and then rate it with our world famous rating system, where 3 is a perfect album, 2 is a good album you're going to continue to listen to, 1 is a bad album but you should give it a shot, and 0 is trash fire. It should never have been made. Nope. So what do you got? Go.
I don't think this is a perfect album. I'm going to preface that right now. I don't think this is a perfect album, because there are just, I don't know, there are things about this that I wish were different. But given the scene, given what this band did for the little scene that was out here, and then given like how many decades have passed since this album has come out, and I'm still seeing record stores, bars, even like Zia Records, like all these places still have posters up of JFA. And it's like Nirvana, and then like the Gin Blossoms, which is another massive Arizona band, but suck. Yeah. So it's like Nirvana, and then the Gin Blossoms, and then like Foo Fighters, and then JFA. Like to even put the JFA posters up with these well-known bands of today's age is
bands that have sold over millions of records.
Yeah, versus a
even
band
Gin
that
Blossoms
probably struggled to sell like 10,000 records over the course of their career. It's something to be said, and this area really likes their JFAs. And I see people post online like, oh, original JFA concert poster, $80, like little pieces of paper.
Yeah.
And then
like a little flyer or something.
And then I'll see that same person, like it'll say sold, so somebody bought it. Like this area takes its JFA very seriously. It really does.
That's cool though. It's cool.
But I think that's a little like, that's kind of like a catch-22, because on the one hand, you think that they just support their band because they're local. This area likes to support local. It just so happens that JFA is really good. But I don't know if that's why people are supporting it, or if it's just because it's a local punk band that has like longevity to it.
It's a good question.
You'll never know. But given all that, given the scene, given how active, I mean, Brian lives in Huntington Beach now, so he doesn't live in Arizona anymore.
Shit, we should hang out.
So given all of that, and I don't know, it's really cool, and I've been really excited going through the entire Arizona scene this week and learning a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I still think this is perfect, dude. I think this is amazing. I think this is a perfect record. I think
but you just said it wasn't perfect.
I know it's not perfect individually, but as a whole, the sum of its parts are greater than the parts themselves. Is that how the saying goes?
No.
Yeah, something like that. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, though. But
I think that this album did something that no other punk band ever has done, and they perfectly blended punk with surf music. Yeah. And I do like Black Flag, and I was really surprised when we did the Black Flag stuff. And 2 of the Black Flag albums really blew my mind, and Damage was good. But Black Flag had a tinge of surf, whereas these guys really went for it and didn't oversaturate their own punk music with the surf sound.
Yeah.
And I think it was absolutely perfect. And it was exactly what I want. So,
all
3 out of 3, baby.
3 out of 3. You gave it a perfect score. Okay. So my final thoughts, I wish I would have got into this band earlier. I don't know why it took me so long. I don't know what's wrong with me. But the first 2 records, this and Untitled, man, they're just unbelievable punk records. Untouchable. And then after, like you said, after reading more about the scene and the skate scene and just all that, it just made it so much more interesting. And not to say that the music and the albums weren't good, because they were really, really good. It just added to the whole, I guess, mystique of the band and these albums. And then knowing also that they were so fucking young, and what they accomplished on these, they self-produced it. Probably took 2 days to record the first 2 records. And yeah, this is dude, they were unreal. And I agree with you. They did a great job of fusing the punk and the surf, and they didn't overdo it. And I don't want to say that the Dead Kennedys overdid it. It's just they blended it differently. Like they just blended it differently than JFA did, and it's hard to compare those 2 bands because they're just so wildly different. But I don't know, man. They're just a solid band. They were a solid band. I'm sure they're still great live, and I'd be so down to see them if they ever play. I mean, they play every couple of years, from what it looks like.
They play like little pop-ups and stuff, and they just randomly play. And I think they have a whole new lineup and everything. But Brian's still there. Brian
and the guitar player, they're the only, from what I was reading, they're the only members that have been consistent throughout the whole career. With that being said, I think this band is fucking great and great record. So I'm also gonna have to give this a 3 out of 3. It's perfect.
Oh,
I don't do it very often.
Son.
I don't do it often where I give a perfect 3, but here I'm gonna have to do it. It's a great fucking album, and I'm so stoked that I was introduced to it. So
I also want to say that they do a fucking killer cover of the Peanut song. Yeah, I love
that song.
It's surfed out. It's punked out. It's fantastic. And apparently Brian, as of like 2013, has said he's never been sued. He has never had a cease and desist because he claims that in the original like vinyl, which I have, they credit Charles Schultz and whoever wrote the song.
Yeah.
And so the label is always taking royalties out, but it's a fucking killer cover.
What EP is that on?
It's from the Mad Gardens EP.
Okay. Is that on streaming sites? Like
No, it's not on Spotify.
That's probably on YouTube. Because I'm really curious in hearing that. I'm really curious.
I have it on the vinyls.
Oh, it was
a $30 vinyl for 4 songs. It's like fucking 6 minutes, this whole thing.
I can't believe you bought that.
Stupid.
I can't believe you fucking bought that.
Stupid.
Why the fuck haven't they repressed this shit? I don't get it. Like, they could be making like a lot more money if they just repress their own fucking records.
Dude, and like every one of their albums, their font is exactly the same size in the exact same position. Love it.
I do too. This band is so rad. So, I mean, that's all I got to say about it. You got anything else on this?
No, that's it. I'm done. I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you all for listening to the podcast. I hope some of the guys from JFA listen to this. That'd be fucking rad. Let us know. Let us know how much you hated it, if you hated it. So, yeah, go to Apple Podcasts, go rate, review, and subscribe to us on there. Follow us on social media at Asinine Radio. And thank you all for listening to the pod. And that's it. That's all. Well, you haven't listened to it, so it's not a fair judgment.
Oh, I've never eaten poop, but I know it probably tastes awful.
Well, you probably eaten poop.
It was supposed to be like these rotating half bowls thing that could capture like the sun in Arizona. But wow, I can't even speak. I still can't do it.
Ooh, this is a tough one.
The new Dick Van Dyke Show. That's a tough thing to say, though. New Dick Van Dyke Show. Say it fast.
Dick Van Dyke.
No, the new Dick
Van Dyke Show. The new Dick Van Dyke
practice. You probably had it written down or something.